This is a page from a presentation that some of us saw actually yesterday at a Jackson event, and it was a really powerful, I think, event. And the speaker, his experience is in just that, the experience economy, and just understanding how to really, as a representative in this industry, how to differentiate yourself. You look at the kind of this tiered system here of putting yourself in a better position to differentiate versus undifferentiate. Look at the very bottom here is commodities, and commodities are just something that that have really very little differentiation, where maybe, for example, you call a 1-800 number to get a quote for term insurance. Well, I could go to Crump, I could call the 1-800 number, I could pretty much call anywhere, and that quote's not going to vary by very much, right? So there's very little difference from one provider to the next. And so the more something is commoditized, also the less value that there is, right? For the client, for the end user. And that drives down also profit margins. And so you have to end up doing quite a bit more business. The next level would be like goods, like an actual product. And now with, of course, being able to make things out of this country and China and other places, that has also been commoditized to a great degree. If you look at and that's more on a consumer side, but in our industry, everyone out there who's got a license and is with an independent firm has access to the same products. A lot of our competition has access to the same products. Many of them work with Crump. Okay, so if I go to agent A or agent B and they both have the access to the same things, that becomes commoditized. Does it make it? Used to be that I have an advantage over a captive agent because this captive agent, you can only offer the product from their company, and I've got access to all these other products. Well, now that's become something that is an advantage of the past. And so that's become commoditized as well. And when you're looking at the next level here is service. And service is something else that I still think that you can have a competitive edge in, although it is becoming commoditized, because, if you're someone who's, approaching retirement, you've got $250,000, $500,000. There's a lot of places you can go to get great service and you'd expect good service, right? For someone to help you with your financial needs, right? But there still are different things you can do to differentiate yourself within the service industry. I'm saying all this to kind of build up the next speaker, because I think that what this speaker who we heard yesterday alluded to, and his whole talk was about how we're growing into this experience economy, where we want to experience. The real value we can add is giving someone an amazing experience. So it's one thing to service someone where, hey, they call you, you call them back. They ask for this quote, you come back and you're Johnny on the spot, right? That is good service. But what about the next level is an experience? And just about a week and a half ago, Mario put together and coordinated a fantastic event. It was a world-class golf outing. It was a charity event for American Cancer Society. It was, we had a ball drop on the 18th green when everyone was overlooking, eating dinner and having cocktails, from a helicopter, dropping thousands of balls onto the 18th green to see which ball got closest to the hole. That's an experience. People are going to go back. All the clients that were there were over 60 people there in attendance. They're going to go back and say, man, I don't know about your rep or your agent or your advisor, but this is what I did with my advisor on Monday. And they're going to be able to share that amazing experience. And so these are some of the next level things. I think it leads into kind of a transformative type of a relationship with our clients. So I thought that was appropriate to talk about as I'm about to bring up the next speaker here. Mario has been working with us for over 20 years. He's been a great partner of mine personally. Most of what I have learned about how to do a good job for clients and being able to build a huge client base, which Mario has done, I've learned a lot of that, most of it from Mario. And so I credit him, and I'm going to switch gear or pass the mic over here, so to speak. Let me do that. Technology is fun for everyone here. I am going to make you a panelist now, Mario. So, Mario, there? Can you hear me? Just made you a panel. Can you hear me, Mario? Ah.
Todd, can you hear me okay?
I can. Yep, I sure can. Awesome.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
We can see it.
Wonderful. Thank you for that introduction, Todd. Appreciate that. Great information, and I love seeing that slide. It's interesting because that's one of the first things we're going to talk about is that experience. So I appreciate that, and we did have a successful golf outing thanks to many of you on this call as well. And it did turn out to be a huge success, a lot of great feedback, and looking forward to doing it again. So we appreciate everybody that did participate in that as well. And, you know, the client experience is what we're going to be talking about today in client service. So I'm going to jump right into this. I just want to make sure, Todd, you can hear me okay and you can see the screen okay, correct? We're good on both ends?
Perfect. We're all good.
All right, great. So I first want to say thank you for allowing me to share a little bit. I appreciate being on here as one of the representatives to give some of this information and hopefully help everybody a little bit on some of the client service as we're going through. You know, as I mentioned, I've learned from everybody on this call as well. There's a lot of people that we have some newer people probably on, and some veterans that have been in the business for a long time, like Todd. I've learned from him as well, and we work together and really are always learning and evolving and expanding this process of building a business and building, especially with client service. So I want to start off by going through here. First slide here, if you see, how would you like your customer experience to be? I really wanted to start with that because I think that's an important question to ask ourselves when we're dealing with our clients, and really anything in this business, is how would you like your experience to be? You know, the clients are the reason we're here. You know, we don't get paid without them, right? So without our clients, there really is no business. And, you know, the experience starts really from the beginning. I think we always have to begin with what we want to see in the full picture, right? Have that vision of what we want the client experience to be. And we're always branding ourselves and we're branding our business. And when we're doing that, I think it's important to be patient with the client. Because, you know, each client, if you think about it, has different experiences and different perspectives regarding the industry. You know, maybe they had a certain experience within the industry, maybe within our company, or maybe within one of the companies we represent, or maybe with a certain product, or maybe even with yourself. But I think one of the things we can control is the experience. And I remember one time having this conversation with a client where they had a bad experience with one of the providers on the phone. And that's unfortunate, but it happens in every company, in every industry. There's always things that can come up. But I asked this person, I said, what was their experience with me? Are they happy with what I'm doing for them? And really, they had nothing bad to say. They said they loved working with me. And I really appreciated that. And I bring that up because I know that that's the one thing we can control is they may have a bad experience. They may have had a bad product before. They maybe had a bad rep before. But all you can do is really show them how we're different and how you're different, and really give them that experience. And that's why we always say do it right and do it with pride. The other thing is everything we do is long-term, right? We're in the money business. We're not selling coffee. We're not selling widgets. We're not selling those things. Not that there's anything wrong with any of these other companies or anything else that's out there, but we just always have to remember that when we're helping a family, whether they're giving us $100 a month into an investment or a product, or they give us $1 million, to each person, that's a lot of money to them, right? The $100 a month person and the $1 million person, what makes us different is that we treat them equal. A lot of companies don't do that. There's always advertisements out there where, the bar is getting raised higher and higher of how much they can bring in assets, $250,000, $500,000, in order to even start with that company. Well, we're different where we give everybody a shot, whether they have $100 or $1 million. And I always appreciated that about this firm, because we can work with everybody and we can give everybody a chance. And what's great is our diverse products also allow for a lot of that exposure to go across the board, from somebody just starting out to somebody retiring to a large corporation that we need to help. And if you think about it from an advisor and agent perspective, our building assets and building your product portfolios for your clients is also long-term for us. That's what we want to do, is always add on and build on a big portfolio and big assets under management as well. So that's the focus, right? So that's beginning with the end in mind. All right, let's go to the next one. After you help a family, so after we actually initially sit down, we put something in place for that client, we help them out. A couple things. I think a thank you card is appropriate. Some people like to handwrite them. I personally, I've always handwritten my cards. I think that's important. You may want to put a gift card in there. Sometimes I like to send just a little coffee, $5 or $10 to have them and their spouse grab a coffee, just something small, just to say thank you. Or sometimes I wait upon delivery. But I think it's important is to communicate and say thank you. You could even do this through Campaign Manager or an email or a phone call. And, tracking your business through a tracking log, there's a lot of ways to do this. And we don't have time to really get into the logistics, but I think it's important for you or someone to help you do that, whether it's following up on labs, transfers, or whatever it might be. It's important to hold the client's hand through the process. And I'll give it a couple, just two brief examples that just happened to me recently within the last 30 to 60 days. One client was moving some assets from a company out there. I won't name the name, but let's just say that this client, she's in her 70s when we made the phone call together to make sure the assets were moved. And when we made these phone calls, we got a lot of the runaround from this company. And it was really unfortunate, but you know what it did is two things. Number one, it just reassured the client that we're there to hold their hand. And number two, it just really showed them that they were just a number to that company and to that representative. And by me being on the phone with them, gave them comfort, and we made sure we got the job done. And it really ended up backfiring in their face, the other representative and company. And again, not all the other companies are bad. Not all the other reps are bad, but unfortunately, clients and the representatives wanted to hang on. They want to hang on to their clients. They want to hang on to their money, and we respect that. And we, if we didn't have that loyalty with our clients, what would we have? So we respect that. But at the same time, things come up. Sometimes we're dealing with a different rep on the phone or customer service, and we want to make sure we can hold the client's hand through that. Another example that just happened recently was we moved some money for a client, husband and wife. Husband just retired, and they were dragging their feet a little bit. And by having the communication of just talking to them, I found out that they were trying to time the market. Okay, so without getting too much into that, they were trying to wait because of the market volatility and different things. So the point being is, by getting on the phone with them, by communicating with them, we were able to figure out what the issue was, and we solved it, and we talked them through it. Because sometimes we sit down with the client, we spend hours with them, we do what we're supposed to do, but then they still have these questions that come up. Or maybe things happen, this came up after the fact, or the market drops and then they get scared, or something they don't understand about the product. So I think it's just really important to really hold their hand and let them know we're there for them. The other thing is to find out the answers to any of their lingering questions or concerns from the last appointment. So I think it's important to have that communication with the client, whether it's via the phone or an email, and just say, hey, do you have any questions since the last time we met? Anything come up? And sometimes they have questions from the last appointment. You have to find out the answers. They may have a question about an IRA or how something worked with taxes, and maybe you didn't know the answer. But one thing I've learned early on, and I still follow this rule today, is I may not have all the answers, but one thing I know I can do is I can find the answers. And if I do that, I'm providing them a level of an experience that's first class. And we have the best products or best providers and wholesalers, or people like Eric that was just supporting us there with that from Crum. We have good resources and good providers to lean on. We have, through Nationwide, right? For us out here, we have nationwide the Retirement Institute. We've worked with them to get answers on different health questions or Medicare questions. We have a company, Jackson National. They have a retirement and wealth strategies department. I talk to them a lot. They can help us through different tax planning issues and different concerns of the client. Now, we can't give tax advice, right? We can't give legal advice, but we can walk them through some of those things. We also have great office partners that we can work with. You know, the last webinar we had, Tony DeMille shared a lot about different tax advantages and taxes. And I'll give an example too. You know, one of the clients we just helped, we did a bunch of things for them, and the husband was a little bit, well, speaks a different language, speaks Spanish, and understands a little bit of English. And the wife, she speaks fluent English, and that's who I was working with. But the husband had some questions. Well, in order to make them feel comfortable, again, I wanted to make sure this experience, it's their spouse. It's a very important person in their life. I want to make sure they understand everything. So when we went back for the delivery, I brought in one of my partners, Jaime Pozos. He came in and he explained everything to the client that we were doing, to the spouse, made them feel more comfortable. Now both the husband and the wife were on board. The reason I bring that up is because we have great partners, whether they're directors that work with you, other partners in the office, it doesn't really matter. We have a lot of great people that know the products and services and can help us, whether it's a bilingual issue or maybe it's a different expertise issue, and they can come in and really help make that appointment good and solidify that for the client. And I think it's important that if you look at our robust platform and resources and other products and services, is to plant seeds and continue the discussions about these other services that we have. One of the things I always make sure I do after an appointment, because there's only so much you can do in one appointment. You can't do it all. But planting the seeds and letting them know about the next thing that we're going to talk about. We have a lot of great videos. We have great brochures. I'm always making sure that I'm planting the next seed, whether I'm emailing out the video, emailing out the brochures, and just say, hey, take a look at this. For the next time we get together, we're going to continue that discussion about whatever it might be, whatever's on their mind. All right. Let's go to part of the delivery, education, and referrals. I think this is very important, right? This is where really when we come back together with the client, we see what's going on. Well, first thing I want to mention is I think it's good to go have coffee, lunch, or dinner, or somewhere, whether it's at their home or in the office. A lot of times I have the clients come meet me in the office for this, but it could be at a coffee, or I bring in the coffee, or we bring in lunch, and treat them if you want, and deliver it that way instead of just over a kitchen table again, or just over your desk or table. You know, break some bread or have a cup of coffee. I think that's important to do that. But more importantly is even re-reviewing their personal financial strategy, their financial needs analysis, right? Whatever it might be that you took, the notes that you went over with them, their goals, what they're looking to accomplish, review that again with them. There's a lot of good books that we have. We have these great How Money Works by Steve Siebold. We have the Saving Your Future books from Swan Wynn, and a lot of great leaders that have written these books in many hundreds of years of financial wisdom and experience put together. I always leave those books behind as a reference point for the client. Point out different chapters that they can go back to. Review those books with them. Review the product brochures. Don't just drop it off, right? And you're always solidifying the education. You know, something that I realize too is for a lot of us, this is daily and routine and simple. So a lot of the things that we talk about, but for our clients that are not in this world all the time, it's not just an everyday thing to them. So we have to remind them and always continuing to solidify that education to them. One of the nice things that we have with that is we have great workshops and economic summits. There's another way we're constantly weekly having workshops and quarterly doing these economic summits where you can help solidify the education to the clients. Invite them to that. Invite their clients to that. That sets us apart from the industry as well. We do a great job of that, and I know it's getting better and better. So you look at, we have this ultimate platform of companies, products, and services, and we really want to let them know we are a full one-stop shop. Legacy Shield is a good example of that with the wills and trusts. And when we're getting referrals, not just for clients, I think it's important to just let them know all the different things we do. And again, there's a lot to cover. So just be patient with time and prove to them that the products and service that we're doing are good and worthwhile. And I'll give you an example of a client we helped. We did a rollover with them when they retired. We did an annuity. We did some assets under management. And then we went back and we did some nationwide life insurance and long-term care that was important to them. And this was a step-by-step process. This is multiple appointments. So you get one product or service at a time. So initially we had to roll over her 401k. Then we had to do the husband's IRA. Then we started talking about life insurance. That was another appointment. Then once we did the life insurance, we just delivered it this last week. And when we went back, we talked about, okay, what about the will and trust? And the client said, yeah, I need to do that. So we talked about Legacy Shield and we just sent them the email for that. So it's a step-by-step process, but by doing that, we've added on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 10 products and services that we do. And it's a continuing effect. And the referrals will come from that. And it's interesting, this client, during this whole process, from retirement to the will and trust, referred one of her sisters that needed a product for life insurance. And between the process of underwriting, we went and helped the sister as well. So that's the referral process also. But if you think about our products and services too, bringing up Jaime Poses again, he went out and helped the family with one of our providers through Bolt for property and casualty, not a big area. But the reason I bring this up is it's great that we have these resources. Now, I'm not an expert in property and casualty, but Bolt is. And the reason I bring this up is because what he was able to do is help this client save about $1,000 a year through Bolt. Just one of our added resources. Client was happy they saved that $1,000, but you know what they did with that? They were able to put that into a monthly program through Nationwide to protect their family and get some long-term care. That $1,000 went into that product. So not only did we find some money for the client, but we also helped them with another product that's going to serve their family. I think it's important to do that. There was another client that we helped, and little by little, we worked with them on their retirement. Then there was MedSups that came up, and I brought in one of my partners, Tony DeMille, to help me with that. And when we were going over that, and that's why the point of this is to be patient, is there were other assets there with another big bank. She didn't want to move that money yet. But little by little, over about a 1.5-year process, and even by doing it on her own with one of our platforms through TransAlpha, one of our providers, she started moving the bank money little by little as she saw the communication from us, number one, the communication from the providers, and just the follow-up and the performance. So give our services and products time to prove themselves as well as yourself to the client, and a lot more will come from that. And just recently, she moved over more money now for her grandchildren. So it's getting generational. So work with other experts. Tony was able to help with the MedSups, and we were able to do the rollovers. And you know what? At the end of the day, by working with other people and other experts, they're going to see the full service that we can offer them, because we want our clients to work with us on everything if they can. It's not always possible. A lot of clients want to have diversity with other agents or different companies, and that's fine, and we respect that, and again, respect the loyalty of that. But at the end of the day, if they see what we're doing and they see our service and our first-class treatment to them, I think they're going to want to work with us. And lastly on that is, when you come to referrals, what about not just client referrals, but what about people that are looking for us, looking for this industry? What if they can become their own money manager, become their own agent? One of the things that I've always appreciated about this company is the fact that, I can help myself with more products and services in my family. And I've done that over the years. Just recently, my parents, who, my mother, Fran, she's a rep with our company, and she was doing some different things for her retirement. And she went ahead and took advantage of some products that even Eric Mueller just showed on from Crum. She knew exactly what she needed. She knew exactly how the product worked. And what was great? She even got compensated on that. So why can't we bring people into this environment as well? And that's really our onboarding experience and really expansion of our business, to help not only families with the products, but help them get in and become their own money managers as well if they want, and help other families. Let's go over to client correspondence here. think it's important that this is a quarterly event. Not necessarily every month or even every quarter, but somewhere along the year that you're, as they say, quote unquote, dripping this communication and this client information over to them. One way is the annual review. Stay in communication, right? So if you look at the annual review, it's important to make sure we're doing that. 4 times a year is what I recommend. You can also do a birthday card, right? Handwrite it, or now with Campaign Manager, it's actually automatic, right? So you can do that already. It's with Campaign Manager, and we've talked about that. I'm sure we'll have another webinar on that. If you haven't used it, you can put that in there, and every month, those clients' birthdays will go out. Client appreciation events. There's workshops. There's different economic summits that we do. I think that's important because every client gets an email regarding those economic summits that we do. Doesn't mean they're always going to attend, but they're hearing from us. And so many times I get an email back that says, I can't make it, Mario, but thanks for thinking of me. Oh, by the way, I have to do this. Or by the way, what's going on with my R&D? Or by the way, let's get together on my policy. Or by the way, my son's policy, whatever it might be, different things that come up. Let them know you're thinking of them, even if they don't come to the event. Financial newsletters and updates. Tax season's a big one. We always send the newsletter for that. But now with Campaign Manager, there's so many different newsletters you can do for Life Insurance Awareness Month, different things that are coming up. The Money Makeover, there's so many different things that they have. But I think tax season's a big one. We always get a lot of repeat business for tax season because people have to make IRA contributions, or they want to set up an IRA or whatever it might be. A holiday card every year, it's something we've done for a long time. We continue to do it, but making sure our clients get a holiday card. Now we do a pre-printed calendar. It's really nice, has these quotes on it, gets sent automatic to the clients. Something I do every year. I think it's great. It's interesting when you go back and you see the clients, you see multiple of them every year is on their fridge still. Some of them don't take it down. These are some of the things that they might be small to us sometimes, but again, to the client, it makes a big difference. It's communication. They see it and they appreciate that. I think it's important too to just have coffee or lunch or dinner with them. Or I had to put golf in there. I love golf, right? And a lot of our clients love golf. I have a client that just every year he says, Mario, let's make sure we play. And we're going to be setting that up in October. And we just go out for fall and we go out and play and we talk business and just talk about his family. And sometimes we don't even talk business, right? It's just a good time. I learned that a lot from my mother as well, one of our reps here. When she meets with her clients, she's always doing it over lunch or doing it over dinner or doing it over coffee. It doesn't have to be anything big. It's just another way to correspond with them, just being on the phone. I just spoke to a client the other day and he was asking, say, hey, Mario, I want to get together. Let's meet for coffee or whatever it is. I think that's important to do that. Many of us already do that, but it's just it's an added little touch. It's just, it breaks the cold atmosphere of sometimes the office or just meeting somewhere else. And I think it's important that if they always see this information, they know what you do and you're on their radar. I think that's important to always be on the client's radar, even if I don't get the response. And it's interesting because if I ever miss some of these things, sometimes a client will say, hey, I was looking forward to whatever it might be this year. Are you not having it this year or whatever it might be? So clients do pay attention to that. And even if they don't respond, they do appreciate just getting the information. So let them know you're thinking about them. And we've got a lot of great events. Like Todd mentioned, we just had that golf outing. We've got holiday parties, picnics, summits, workshops, so many different things that you could just get out to your clients. All right. And as I wrap here, the last thing I want to cover is the CRM. Correspondence is important. I know, Patrick and I were talking about this the other day, how he's always adding different notes in there. Add all your conversations if possible. I know it's not always easy, but make a note, go back to it later and do it, have staff do it, whatever it might be. But, even one of the CRMs that we use, the customer relationship management, is Redtail. They have an app. I just go right in after the conversation or as I'm having the conversation, and I just type it right in. And now Salesforce is another thing you can look into, but that's offered for everybody now on our platform, which is great. So correspondence is important, and document everything. I think it's important. You just, client calls you, said, hey, I'm happy, everything's good, or hey, I made that contribution, or I made that distribution, or whatever that might be, or I talked to my accountant, I did this or that. Just document it, let them know. And it's good when you go back, it's good to review your notes when you have these appointments with your clients, you're talking to them, and you can go back and see what you discussed. We have so many different things going on in our lives and so many clients and things like that. It's important to document it. We can't remember all of that all the time, right? The other thing is, touching on annual reviews again, something I didn't mention earlier, is when it comes to the annual reviews, they're becoming required now for a lot of our products and services. Well, I've always looked at that as a requirement anyways, just personally, and a lot of us have, I know, because the annual review is just part of what we do for clients. It's part of our industry. In fact, it's the norm out there, and now a lot of times it's even semi-annual or quarterly. So as much as you can touch the client with that information, I think it's important. So make sure that's on the radar. The other thing is having all the accounts listed. So as we add multiple accounts and products and services, we have those added in. So it's a quick snapshot on the dashboard. When I'm talking to a client, I don't have to go to every website. I already have it in front of me. I know exactly what the client has. And then I could dive deeper into the different websites as needed for the different product information or account information that's needed. And over the years, you build that up. The other thing is having reminders for other products and services to review with them. I'll give an example of two of my clients that we helped out over the years, and they have laddered 7 figures of CDs and annuities. They've laddered these things over the years, multiple 7 figures. And we started off with some money, but over the years, what happens is those CDs mature, those accounts mature. And sometimes they've called me, sometimes the client has not, but I've always made sure I stayed in communication. And by doing that, we have actually gotten a lot of those CDs and annuities that have matured to roll over with us, that have been in other banks or with other representatives, or sometimes the representative's not even there anymore. There's no loyalty, and they're looking for a better rate. So that's one example of just knowing the reminders of other products and services. There was another client that we helped that their broker was going to be retiring within the next year or two. Well, I put that on as a reminder because I knew if their broker's retiring, there's no loyalty there. What are they going to do? So we continued to service that client over that year and a half. And then when their broker retired, followed up with them. And guess what? We were able to go in there and take over all the other accounts and move over those other assets. But not just that, this kind of dips into a little bit of the legacy planning, because what happened from that specific client is we then were able to help their kids and their grandchildren because they all had money with that broker. So generationally, then we're working with the entire family by just staying in contact. Now, I don't know if that would have happened if we weren't in communication or not, but it's just important to have that on the radar. And lastly, the legacy planning with the family is very important. I'll give a quick example. We had a client that we helped back in 2000 with a product that had a death benefit. Now, the client passed away, and this was the grandmother. Well, now she had a daughter, and she had other children, and she had other grandchildren. Well, what we ended up doing from that is, by, of course, staying in the communication with that client over all the years, when that client passed away, we took that death benefit, and we helped the children, and then we helped the grandchildren. And then there was also great-grandchildren, 4 generations that we helped from that death benefit. But by doing that, we also moved over a 401k for that daughter. We also helped the other grandchildren with Roth IRAs and other life insurance policies because now they had children. And then the great-grandchildren, we opened up TransAlpha accounts with as well. So by knowing your documentation of who are the children, who are the children's children, who are the beneficiaries, who are the families involved in these products and services and in the lives of this client, not just as a number, not just as a product or service, but who are these people involved, we can continue to help them more. And again, it's not just about selling another product and services. It's truly about building that relationship and continuing that friendship. And to this day, we have a very good relationship with that family, and they're good friends of ours. But we also help them with their finances. And we've done a great job over the years with now the great-grandchildren of helping them. And lastly, I just say, at the end of the day, what we have to realize too is when the client's ready, they're ready. I think we need to be ready for the client because clients aren't going to take action unless they're ready. Sometimes we can do the best presentation, we can give them the best service, we got the best products, the best services, everything that we have. But if the client is not ready, they're not ready. But that's why we have to always be ourselves prepared and professionally persistent and always adding value to the client. Because if we're doing that, then we're just positioning ourselves always in the best way to be there for the client when they're ready. And I'll leave you with this quick story that I learned from my father. My father worked for Hostess Cake for many years. He recently retired from there. They make the cupcakes and the donuts and the Twinkies and all that good stuff. But my dad shared a story with me that really hit home. And this is something I always remember with my clients. My dad told me that he managed the factory there in Schiller Park for Hostess, and he always had sales reps coming in trying to sell them different supplies and products and things like that. And he was in charge of that. But what happened is somebody always kept coming in trying to sell forklift tires. And he always told them, no, we're good. We don't need them. We don't need them. And the guy that was selling, the sales rep, was very persistent, but he was professionally persistent. And he just dripped on them all the time. Just every now and then he'd stop in, hey, just checking in, how are your tires? He'd give them good value of information. He'd tell them some servicing tips, and he just was there for them. But my father would say, no, I'm not ready. No, we don't need them. No, we don't need them. And this went on for years. Well, guess what happens to tires? One day, eventually, the tires go out. Well, because my father never heard from the other person that serviced those forklifts until it was time to sell tires. Well, he decided that person that kept coming in and giving him the value and talking to him and just was professionally persistent. One day he came in and guess what? It was time for tires and he got the business. So I just wanted to share that because I think the moral of the story is if we're just always doing our job and thinking of the client and know that this is the reason that we're here and always giving them value and just having that professionally persistent adding value in our routine, I think good things will come to us and good clients will come to us and good things from this. We can always help those clients in the best possible way. And we have to be ready ourselves and know that this is a long-term business. It's not always immediate results, but if we continue doing the right thing, good things will come and we can help our client the best way possible. And with that, Todd, I'm finished there. I hope you guys heard everything. I hope it was some good information for you that you can take some tips and apply them to your practice. Thank you very much.
Awesome job, Mario. I'm sure you hear everyone's applauding, but they're all muted. So wow, is it any wonder why you've got such a great business? And I was just listening to you and thinking, who wouldn't want to be your client? I want to be your client right now. Can we sit down after this? And of course, when you have a business like that, I think it just naturally attracts quality people, who also want to be great professionals in the business with you. And so you can really, I think, grow organically from the bottom up. And the bottom up meaning you start with the people who matter the most, which is the client. And then from there, you find great people that you can build a business with. And, and of course the generational part there, you're thinking about your sons and what kind of business you're going to pass on at some point. If you just had a business, and this is for everybody, if you just had a business like many people in our industry that's just about selling something or, it's a, slam bam, thank you ma'am type of a business model, you're going to have a real tough time getting to the next generation. You're going to have a real tough time being able to attract really high quality clients. And so I think it's all about what you just said, man. That's a cornerstone. So really appreciate you and what you represent. So